West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin appeared in Davos at the World Economic Forum this week and was asked, because apparently he's the linchpin for the entire global economy.
Why is he in Davos? I mean, another great question.
Well, it was a panel called "What's Going On in Capitol Hill," and it was him and it's a bunch of weirdos. You had a bunch of Republican senators. You had Menendez, Coons. Mm-hmm. They actually got in a fight over the tax cuts, which was kind of funny. Roger Wicker and him got in a fight over the tax cuts. But he has a panel of like 9 senators. It does feel just often. It feels wrong, but also perfect.
Yeah,
that all of these senators would travel to Davos and mingle with these global leaders. It's
not like driving down Pennsylvania Avenue to go to some panel at a conference in D.C. Like, they went to Davos. The Republican governor of Indiana was at Davos. Like, what the hell are you people doing?
Yeah, and so he was asked there by the moderator, if the world can do some climate stuff.
Yeah.
And let's play his answer there. It's pretty long, but it gets into something important, which is the question of, is a version of Build Back Better actually going to happen? And I think the answer is maybe, because there has been a lot going on behind the scenes, because they realized that their strategy of constantly elevating popular things and then killing them publicly wasn't working so well for them. So they killed the entire thing, took it behind the scenes. It's being negotiated pretty closely, and Manchin hints at that here.
Senator Manchin, I'm going to turn to you because you are, for obvious reasons, absolutely central to any progress being made on President Biden's domestic agenda. Question 1, do you think any other meaningful legislation will get passed before the midterms?
Well, first of all, we ought to look at what we've been able to accomplish so far, which has been tremendous, and in a bipartisan way. Everyone overlooks that, thinking we haven't done anything. President Biden has had more success than most any president in the first term, and we should agree to that. Next of all, yes, I do. I believe there's an opportunity. There's a responsibility and opportunity that we can do something. First of all, inflation is harming every person in America. Everyone's feeling it hard. It's inflicting pain on the world. So we should be looking at getting our financial house in order, paying down our debt. We should be looking at also our drug pricing. There's no reason in the world why we can't negotiate for Medicare having better pricing, and also for different types of medicines, especially, whether it be for diabetes and things of this sort that they need for insulin, that should be something that's life-saving and very affordable. Those things can be done, and we know that. Next of all, the third thing is going to be energy and climate, and you can't do one without the other. The United States of America has an abundant supply of natural gas and oil, and we can use our fossil and the cleanest technology humanly possible to make sure that we are reliable, we have reliability, and we have security. If you have that, then we're going to be able to replace some of the more pollutant energy in the world and help backfill all of EU, if you will. Natural gas, we have our platforms that we're talking about, and that is something that we're developing, but also we have the ability to go down 2 paths. A path of investing in some of the technology that's going to be needed for the transition that will happen. But eliminating one, and for the other one, that's the European model that Germany followed. It wasn't successful. We should not repeat that. The United States has the ability to be an energy leader and also a supporter of our allies around the world that are having problems right now.
So just to be clear, to those people outside the United States who worry that the ambitious climate agenda of the president hasn't really gone very far, you're saying that there will be
We have
progress.
done an awful lot, and that's not correct. What we have done already in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, that's more than it's ever been done. And we have so much more that we can do. But you can't do it by abandoning the fossil industry that gives us the ability to have reliability and security, not just for our nation, but what the world is needing today, all of our allies and friends. You can't abandon that. And right now we have a little bit of a discussion going on of which way this is going to go. But if we're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars investing in a new technology that's going to be needed for the transition of a carbon-free or carbon-less environment and an energy sector, then you have to be able to make sure that can intersect and take care of this. You can't replace one until you have something to replace it with.
So Ryan, you look at that and you say in the coming weeks, the negotiations behind closed doors between Senator Schumer, Senator Manchin, potentially the White House.
No, the White House, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, are going better than people might realize outside of those closed doors. Why did what he say sort of give you that sense?
And so this also follows, he was at an oil industry conference a couple weeks ago called Zero Week and met with reporters there. And of course, like if we want to learn what Manchin is thinking, we have to either go to Davos or to an oil industry conference. And elsewhere in this at this panel, he kind of...
Or a boat show.
A boat show, of course, yeah. And so he lays out basically what the contours of the deal would be. And according to sources that I've talked to, there's basically a framework at this point that's been agreed to. Whether they can actually take it from a framework to legislative text is what they're working out now. The $3.5 trillion Build Back Better thing, that's dead. So what's left is something that'll be in the range of like 700 billion-ish. And about half of, so it'll involve corporate tax increases. It could involve some taxes on the super rich. It will involve drug price negotiations. So basically allowing Medicare to negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies that raises money. Half of that is, this is Manchin's insistence, half of all of that revenue that is brought in by those two or three things is then supposed to go to deficit reduction. The other half then can go to energy credits, and it has to be agnostic. In other words, it can't just be for clean energy. All of the different dirty energies need to get subsidized as well. And that's what he's referring to there by saying, like, you can't get rid of one if you don't have the other one ready. But still, that adds up to hundreds of billions of dollars worth of clean energy subsidies.
And there's a footnote to that that gets into his point about inflation, which is, I do think, a relevant one in terms of a $700 billion spending bill. Not to get too nitty gritty, but do you know what the revenue proposals, are they like being restricted to within a year immediately, or is this like still 10-year out projections? Like with the child tax credit, it will raise X, or it will cost X over 10 years.
That's the other thing that he's insisted on, that all of the programs that are in there have to be paid for each year.
Yeah.
So because in the past they're saying, okay, fine, you want us to cut down our spending that we're going to do, then fine, we'll just do the tax credit for 1 year rather than 3 years.
Yeah.
And Manchin's like, no, you can't do that. So tax credit, very likely, I think, doesn't even get in there. Manchin doesn't like it. One lady in a grocery store told him that their kid spent it on drugs, and done. Like that's the end of it. That's like, so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we make our laws.
Who Joe Manchin talks to in a grocery store.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and that's, but in terms of inflation, those projections are actually a serious question. And so I think if he is insisting on that, it is a good thing.
Right, and he thinks this is deflationary, and so do a lot of economists.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because it's energy subsidies drive down energy prices. You're going after drug prices, which is deflationary. And the tax increases that you include on the rich would also then be deflationary, as would technically or allegedly using the money to pay down the deficit. So
yeah.
He believes that all those things could potentially be deflationary. Now, do they address the supply chain problems? Do they address a war in Ukraine that is driving up wheat prices? Do they address Mohammed bin Salman raising gas prices so that he can get a meeting with Biden and get away with murdering Khashoggi? No. But we're still stuck in this world where we believe that there's a financial fix for everything, and so if he believes that, fine, whatever.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that's the whether or not, I mean, how much of a variable this is in inflation is a totally different question in and of itself. But the other sort of looming variable is that they're in an election year and things aren't looking great for.
Right, this is the last chance to do something.
Right, yeah, things aren't looking great for Democrats, and so there's I think especially after these primaries, an added measure of desperation that is probably coloring the negotiations at this point.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Well, this is something that we will certainly be following as it unfolds. I think, Ryan, you're probably correct that there's some real momentum.
People think it's possible, but also people are very skeptical that Manchin is ever serious.
Well, and I think all of this has vindicated the squad, or at least a chunk of the squad's decision not to vote for the original bill, because
they're like, we told you can't trust this dude.
Well, yeah, and we talked earlier about how thin those margins have been in some of the primaries, and that speaks to why it is so difficult, even on the left right now, for Democrats to come together when they have votes in the Senate to do things. So good luck to Democrats going forward on Build Back Better.
They will need it.
But hey, desperation is the engine that drives progress.
Let's hope. Well, more Rising right after this.